Hello, my name is Steven, and today we're going to be going through my benchmark for corrective exercise. We have a patient here who has come in with complaints of her shoulder hurting. Turns out we have a shoulder impingement injury, so we're going to be walking through that slowly through the corrective exercise continuum, breaking down what we need to know and how we can improve her functionality and get away from this dysfunction. So first of all, going over what shoulder impingement is. Shoulder impingement is simply a compression of the structures beneath the coracoacromial arch. So this will include what's in that subacromial space. And the impinged structures are going to be the supraspinatus and infraspinatus tendons, as well as the subacromial bursa, along with the head of the biceps tendon. So when looking at this, we need to have this in mind while we're trying to create a plan that is going to benefit our patient. So looking at potential causes for this, a lot of overhead movements are known to cause shoulder impingement. So whether this is related to a sport or daily activity, anything where we're lifting our arms really high over and over again can cause inflammation and impingement on this area in the rotator cuff. And this impingement is going to cause rotator cuff weakness, and so we're going to be looking at that a lot today in trying to get this weakness back, or trying to get the strength back and get away from this weakness in her rotator cuff. Shoulder impingement can also be caused by simply having that weakness in her rotator cuff can be enough to cause this impingement, not having the strength to support the different structures in there. As well as just deformity of the acromion can cause this, instability in the shoulders, as well as scapular dyskinesis. So now we're going to move on to the corrective exercise continuum. This is going to include inhibition, activation, lengthening, and integration. Okay, first I'm going to walk my client through an inhibitory technique. So her upper traps are very overactive with the shoulder impingement. So we're going to take a lacrosse ball and we're going to have her apply that to the tender areas that are giving her pain and hoping to get relief through that, getting extra blood flow to those areas and releasing this muscle. So what you're going to do is you're going to go by the wall right here, put pressure on it, and simply roll back and forth on those tender areas. Do that for about 30 seconds, then take a rest, and then do it a second time.
So here we can see the patient applying that pressure with the lacrosse ball with this inhibition technique, trying to target those upper traps, making sure that she is comfortable, not too much pain, and if there is, then we can add an extra rest. But she seems to be doing all right here and applying enough pressure to get that release that we want. So now we'll move on to lengthening.
All right, next we're going to work on lengthening the overactive muscles. So again, we're going to be targeting the upper traps. As we talked about before, these are very overactive and we need to increase mobility here and range of motion to allow the patient to get rid of her upper cross syndrome and get back to her normal posture. So what I'm going to have her do is arm behind the back, grab the head, tilt it opposite the side that is being painful, and let that stretch settle in for a good 30 seconds, relax, do it a second time.
And here's a close-up of that lengthening technique. We can see that the patient is stretching the upper trap, pulling the head to the right as that left trap is being stretched, trying to eliminate the tension there, increase that mobility and range of motion, as I had just said. And yeah, now we'll move on to activation.
Okay, the next step in the CEC is to walk our patient through activation. So in the case of shoulder impingement, she's going to have weak rotator cuff muscles, including the subscapularis, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and the teres minor. as well as other weak muscles such as the lower traps and serratus anterior. The purpose of the activation phase is to allow these underactive muscles and tissues to strengthen and get reactivated so that they're performing well and aren't adding into that dysfunction. So we're going to focus on the rotator cuff muscles right now, looking at internal and external rotation. So for this next exercise, I'm going to have you take the injured arm, grab the wall right here, and just push inward, getting that internal rotation. Hold that for about 30 seconds, rest, do it a second time. Go to this wall, do that external rotation. Pushing against the wall, doing that same thing, getting a rest, one more time. Get a little bit closer to the wall. There we go.
So through activation, what we are mainly trying to accomplish here is just to get these muscles working so that they, in a way, remember what their job is and get them to activate with their intended action. So doing this internal and external rotation, this is getting the rotator cuff muscles working so that they know what their job is, and it's preparing them for the integration that we'll move on to.
Okay, now that we've activated the underactive muscles, we're going to move on to integration as the final step in the CEC. So as we looked at before, the rotator cuff muscles are underactive and are contributing to her dysfunction in her shoulder impingement. So we're going to keep on focusing on those weak muscles in this integration exercise and try to get these muscles back to full functionality, not just activating them, but retraining them to do their correct job. So what we're going to do is take these stretch bands, very similar concept as before. We're going to take the injured arm, do external rotation, do 10 reps, do 20 seconds rest, then do 10 more reps. Do external rotation, and then on that same injured arm, come here and do internal rotation, doing 10 reps, 20 seconds rest between the two sets. Here we are retraining the rotator cuff muscles to allow them to strengthen and get back to their normal functionality without being inhibited by the shoulder impingement injury. So go ahead and do perfect.
So through integration, we are not only trying to get these muscles activated and working, but trying to strengthen them as well. So trying to return to the normal functionality that our patient should have in her shoulder, we are focusing more on this range of motion and adding a resistance element to it with multiple reps. Not just doing isometrics like activation, but adding in that full range of motion to get that movement more natural for her and retrain her muscles to just allow her to get back to her normal state. There are ways to improve upon the intensity of this exercise. It could add in weights to make it more difficult further down the road. This would be a good place to start with the resistance bands, but to add in some resistance, we could add weights, even have an exercise where she's lying on her side and have a small weight to do that external rotation, lifting that up. So there are ways to improve or increase the intensity, but this is already a good integration exercise.
All right, and that is the entire CEC procedure. Just to review, we inhibited the overactive muscles contributing to her shoulder impingement. This included the upper traps that were adding to that upper cross syndrome. We also lengthened the upper traps that were contributing to that posture, hoping to regain some mobility and range of motion there. Then we moved on to our activation, where we tried to activate the rotator cuff muscles with the internal and external rotation, and finally improved upon that internal and external rotation with some integration exercises, trying to strengthen those muscles, get them more than activated, but fully retrained to get back to a normal functionality. So thank you for watching my final benchmark, and yeah.